Hello everyone, I'm ready for the yoga class of today. So I'm waiting for you. If you are watching, let me know by clicking the like or the heart button so that I know that you're watching this. So this is my Saturday Vinyasa Yoga class, and now that for this situation now, I cannot have the room that we often do yoga in. It will be until the 24th of January, and it may extend based on the current situation. So this is my substitute for that class. I will do it at home, and you guys can stream it at home and do it with me too. So this is the second class. Last week I did another class too, quite gentle. But today we're going to do some deep hip opening because I know that we have been at home for quite a while. If you are like me, I've been at home since like Christmas, and then all the way until now without going out. So I really need some deep hips opening, and it's very cold today too. I think it would help us to improve blood circulation and open up our body in this cold, steep winter time. So if someone is watching, please let me know that you can hear me and see me by clicking the heart button or the like button. And also I have a link to a Spotify playlist in the description of this live stream. You can click on that link and open that playlist on Spotify so that your experience will be more complete. And here you can see that I prepare my yoga mat next to a wirh because I'm going to do some hip opening with the wirh today, and some thin blanket or mattress to support my knees, and 2 yoga blocks. So if you have these things at home, please prepare. The class will start in about 3 to 5 minutes. So I'm going to wait for more people to join me. So if you watch the replay, let's just skip all these intro and beginning of the video and move on to the class. So if you can hear me, please let me know by clicking the heart button or the like button. I'm very far away from the screen now. I cannot read your comments. So if you are ready, let's do the class. And yeah, if you are just here, I have a link to a Spotify playlist. That's the music that I often play in the yoga class. So if you like to hear that, to hear some music to make your home yoga experience more better, you can click on that link. It leads to a Spotify playlist, and then we can start. So let's start the yoga class in a laying on the floor position, in a hip opening position. You're going to have 2 blocks here. So you lay on the floor like a bridge pose, and then we're going to do supported bridge pose, lifting your hips up and put 1 or 2 blocks underneath your hips. I'm going to use 2 blocks underneath the sacrum, so it's a flat bone right above your butt cheeks. When you put the blocks to your sacrum, it will feel very stable and you can rest easily here. Close your eyes and you can hold your hands on your belly or bring your arms to the side of your body. And first, let's straighten your legs so that it will open up the front of your hips. And just let your legs fall freely to the side. Close your eyes and do about 5 breaths here. Don't hold back. Just rely completely on the blocks. Allow the blocks and the floor to support you fully. So you are not actually using any strength of your body to be here in this pose. Every time you exhale, surrender more and allow your face to soften too. And then after 5 breaths, we can start making a deeper version of hip opening. Let's bring your feet to touch each other and open your knees out like a Untitled pose. And stay here for longer. And the same as the other pose, let go of everything. Don't hold back. After a while, your hips may feel quite intense. But try to get over the intense feeling and stay here for just a little bit more, about 5 breaths. And then you can support your hands outside of your legs and help your legs to come closer to each other. The hip closing position is on the opposite, so you touch your knees together and keep your feet about as wide as your mat. Stay here for a while and feel the hip closing position as a counter pose for what we just did. And you can slowly lift your hips up and remove the blocks out of your way. Place the hips back down to the floor and stay for longer time in hip closing position. And feel that your sacrum is sinking down toward the ground. And then you can bring your legs from side to side, like the windshield of a car. Start moving your hips and moving your spine. And then after this, you can roll your whole body to one side and get out of this pose laying on the floor and into table pose. So someone commenting something, I need to check. Okay, thank you very much. So that's how I know this mic is working, because many times I live stream without any sound. Okay, so for today we're going to do table pose, and let's support your knees with a piece of pillow. If you don't have anything like a mattress like I'm having here, you can fold up a blanket and support underneath your knees. It's very important for today because we're going to do some intense stretching, so it's very needed. As in table pose, Let's start moving through cat and cow. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale, cat. Do about 5 rounds. And do on your own breath. Try to move very big. So that you warm up your whole spine. From the tiny bones on your neck down to your thoracic spine, lumbar spine, and the tiny bones on your toes. And eventually we're going to stay still in the cow pose. So now in the cow pose, we're doing a kind of a back bend, but I want you to notice how your tailbone is pointing up. So you don't have to care about the rest of your spine, but in this cow pose, I want you to focus on bringing your tailbone up, and you should feel that your sitting bone is raising up too. Remember this action, I will call it cow pose later in other poses. And then go to a cat pose, and in cat pose, you don't have to be super rounded, but just feel how your tailbone is curling down. And you feel that your sitting bone is rolling down too. And then let's go back to a normal spine, a neutral situation for your spine. And step your right foot forward toward your right hand position. And now we're going to prepare the 2 blocks with you. If you don't have blocks at home, you can use something else, or you can just hold your hands on your knees. Keep the blocks next to your hips and start bringing your front foot very far away from you. Start sinking your hips down to the floor for Untitled pose. And now you're in a back bend, but let's think of doing a cat pose. So you want to roll your tailbone down. And a very good comparison is that feel like you want to kick your back leg forward, but you are stuck by the floor. Stay here. Imagine you want to drag your feet to touch each other, but at the same time find more depth every time you exhale for about 5 breaths. Look at your front knee and make sure that it's right on the top of the front ankle. Don't collapse your knee in. Start unlocking the front of your back hips, which is in this case the left leg. And every time you exhale is a chance to sink your hips down lower. But press your back leg down to the floor so strongly. It's very stretching, but find strength too, so that you will not hurt any joints. Slowly get out of here and move your hips back, stacking your hips right on your back knee. Now we're going to do half split at a Hanumanasana. Let's bring your front heel down to the floor and point your front toes up. It's fine if you are bending your knees right now, but try to find a quite straight situation so that you can find a big stretch along the back side of your front leg. And from here, even when you feel very rounded, let's try to do the cow pose. So you're tilting your tailbone up and your sitting bone going up too. Let's stay here. You don't have to go forward bend or anything. Just stay here and tilt your tailbone up. It will give you a huge stretch all the way to the back side of your legs, including the 3 big muscle groups, the glute, hamstring, and calf. Keep flexing your ankle and pointing your toes up toward your face so that it stretches thoroughly through the calf too. Keep tilting your tailbone up and stay for about 3 more breaths. I want you to feel the stretch all the way through the big muscles and not only in the tiny parts like underneath your knees. And then let's slowly get out of here. Bring the blocks to the side so that we can use them later on the other side. And step your front foot back. Go to plank pose. As you inhale, stay here in plank for a while and try to make your legs really straight and stiff. and tight. Push the floor away from you and hug your belly up every time you exhale. For one more breath. And then let's bring your knees down to the ground. Inhale, arcing through your spine into a cow pose. And then see if you can land your chest between your hands and your chin down to the floor for knee, chest, and chin. And then inhale, roll yourself up into cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now we're going to do down dog pretty close to the wirh. Imagine you want to bring your hips up really high. And then you can still bend your knees here if you feel still tight. Or you can slowly pull your heels closer and closer toward the floor. Walk your heels on and off the floor. And this first time we are doing down dog. And then let's go back to the ground into table pose again. And do 1 or 2 cat and cow rounds. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale, cat. Now let's go back to the table position, and we're going to do the same 2 poses, Anjani Asana and Adha Hanumanasana, with your left leg in front of you. So bring your left leg forward, prepare the blocks with you, and start sinking your hips low. Bring your legs very far away, but at the same time create a counter force by, imagine you want to pull your legs together. So bring the blocks to the hips, keep sinking your hip low. And at the same time, think of how you want to zip your legs together. Check your front knee and make sure that it's right on the top of your front ankle. And your back leg is pressing down to the floor really strongly. Stay here for about 5 breaths. You can close your eyes if you want to. And feel how you are unlocking the space at the front of your right hips. So even in this, it feels very back bendy, but think of how you want to do a cat pose. Curl your tailbone down. Shorten your belly. Of course, we will back bend at some point, but try to keep your spine as neutral for as long as you can. To me, my right side is definitely tighter than my left. So when I practice on my own, I often hold longer in the tight side. And that's one of the reasons why I prefer practicing yoga at home. And then let's slowly get out of here and go to the other pose. So move your hips back and stack your hip right on the top of your back knee. We move on to stretching the front leg. So let's keep your front heel on the floor, pointing your toes up. Again, here you don't have to lock your knee at all. You can keep it bent. Sometimes locking your knee make all the stretch go to the space behind your knees, and that's a very tiny space. We don't want to focus on that space. When you are here, you don't have to forward bend or do any deep variation. Just simply do the cow pose action, tilting your tailbone up. Imagine your left sitting bones always want to go up and back, and stay here for about 5 breaths. As it's a very tiny action, but it changed completely how we stretch the hamstring. And with your toes always pointing up to your face, you're stretching the calf muscles, which is a very tight muscle group that is hardly stretched. Keep your long and deep breath, because in this stretching, every time you exhale is a chance to go deeper to some pose. And then after 5 breaths, let's move the blocks out of your way and step your front foot back into the plank pose. A few more breaths in plank pose. Hug your belly up, lengthen through your spine, especially in the lumbar spine. Move your shoulders away from your ears. We always want to keep your neck long. So we have a lot of space for the neck and the shoulders. And then next time you exhale, bring your knees down to the floor. Inhale, arcing through your spine into cow pose. And see if you can land your chest between your hands and your chin down to the floor too. Into knee, chest, and chin. And then next time you inhale, let's move to Cobra pose. In Cobra too, it really doesn't matter if you go high or low, but move your shoulders down. And then exhale, downward facing dog. So in this down dog, let's walk your heels on and off the floor again. In the down dog. Let's move the whole down dog. So walk both of your hands and your feet closer to the wall. Now maybe your heels will be touching the wall. And we're going to do down dog split. So first I want you to check your knees. They should not collapse in. For example, if your feet are as wide as your hips, your knees should be as wide as your hips too. Let's turn your knees slightly out. And then you can stand only on your left leg. Bend your right knee. Put the top of your right foot on the wall, or the toe is fine, and slide up as high as you can. Check the other leg and make sure that it's not collapsing in. It's still turning out just like we did in down dog. Now that you have your leg on the wall, let's do flip hips and square hips. So square hips, turn your right knee to face down toward the floor, and then flip hip, turn your right knee out. Now your toes are pointing out too. We're going to do this for 2 more rounds without changing anything in the standing leg. So square hip, rolling the whole right thigh bone in, and flip hip, rolling the whole right thigh bone out. One last time. And feel the difference between these two. And then let's bring this leg down to the floor. Inhale, plank pose. And exhale, bring your knees down to the floor. Inhale, cow pose, arcing through your spine. Exhale, knee, chest, and chin. Even in this knee, chest, and chin, make your leg long. All the way to Cobra as you inhale. And exhale, downward facing dog. And you can put your heels on the wall already. And then we're going to do it with your left leg up. So bend your left knee. You can touch the top of your foot or the toes to the wall. Try to be as high as you can. And then we're going to try the square hips and flip hip here. And in all the hips position, your other leg will not change. And if possible, don't change anything in your arms. Don't make one arm work much more than the other. So let's start making your hips, turning it out. Now your left toes are pointing to the left side on the wall, and then turning your left hip in. You should feel more of a hamstring stretch on the other leg when you do this. And then do for 2 more rounds. Take it slow and make sure that we want nothing change. We isolate the movement of the hips. And after this, I'm going to bring the left foot down to the floor. Look to the front of your mat and start walking your feet toward the front of your mat. You can keep the pillow here to support the knees later. Inhale, halfway up, arcing your spine like a cow pose. And exhale, forward bend. In the forward bend, stay about 5 breaths. You can hold the floor, the blocks, or you can wrap your arms around your calf. Let go of your head. And even in this forward bend, you are clearly forward bending, you are clearly being rounded in your back. But think of how you want to do that cow pose action. So you want to tail your tailbone and sitting bones up toward the sky. It will lengthen your hamstring even more. And you can do it while your knees are still bent. Every time you exhale, think of how your spine lengthening down and toward the toes. A very thorough stretch for the back side of your body. And then let's slowly get out of here. So become rounded. You can bring your hips, your head up as high as your heart. And then higher than your heart. And when you don't feel tired or need, what is it called, dizzy anymore, let's stand up. Bring your arms over your head as you inhale. And exhale, bring your arms to the side of your body. Stay here in the mountain pose, Tadasana, for a few breaths. And sense how your body feels. To me, I feel already good blood circulation in my hips and already very warm in my body. Actually, let's remove the knee support so that we can do a sun salutation, so we don't have to step over it. We're going to do a variated sun salutation with all the strong standing pose to warm up and strengthen our legs before we stretch them out. So let's start at the front of your mat with your feet parallel to each other. Inhale, bring your arms over your head. Hold your hands together and exhale. Let's give yourself a big stretch, a very refreshing one. Just wake up in the morning. Slowly come back and fold from your hips as you exhale, forward bend. Inhale, halfway up. And then exhale, forward bend again. Now let's lower your hips and raise your arms over your head as you inhale, chair pose. And when you exhale, bring your belly down to your thigh, forward bend. This time, let's step your right foot back, a long step into high lunge position. Raise your back heel up, bend your front knee, and turn the front thigh bone out so that your knee will not collapse in. Bring your arms over your head as you inhale into high lunge. Let's stay here for about 3 breaths and think of how we want to kick your back leg forward. If you think you're very familiar to this pose, let's make it bigger today and lower your hips even more. So it's more stretchy, but it's also require more strength to be here. Try to make your spine as neutral as you can. Bring all the stretch into the front of your right leg and not into the belly. One more breath, inhale. And then exhale, let's step your back foot a bit closer. Hold your hands at your hips and bring the whole back foot down to the floor as you straighten your front leg. We're going to do pyramid pose and make sure that your hip is in a square hip position. So both of your hip bones are facing the front of the room. Hold your hands at your hips. Inhale, do the cow pose, tilting your tailbone up. And start leaning forward, folding at your hips. Eventually, we will have to fold your spine at some point, but try to avoid that for as long as you can. Maybe your body, your upper body can be parallel to the floor. And always feel how the whole front leg, the whole hamstring, glute, and calf muscles, they're all stretching. And then if you think you can touch the floor, let's bring 10 of your fingertips down to the ground. Or you can hold the blocks. Here too, we don't have to go super deep or something. Just think of how you want to do that cow pose, bringing your tailbone and your left sitting bone up very much. It's a very tiny action, but it changed completely how we stretch. Now think of how your hips are square. You're curling your right hip in and forward, and you are tilting your left hip up and back. 2 more breaths here. Keep your spine really strong. Every time you exhale, squeeze your belly button up. And then after this, let's move 1 block out of your way. Keep your left block inside the left foot. Stand up and open your body to the side for warrior 2. Bring your arms out to the side. So in warrior 2, let's try to make it even lower than all the previous time you did this pose. The lower your hip become, the more stretch you're going to feel, but it requires more strength too. Hold your belly in so that you are not tilting your back and opening your front thigh bone out very much. And after this, let's step your back foot a bit closer and straighten your front knee into a triangle pose. Pushing your hips back, you already feel a stretch here. And then you can put your left hand on the block. You can choose whichever side of the block or on the floor. The other arm go to the sky or all the way over your head. Stay here for about 3 breaths too. And think of how you always want to make your spine long. Your head is growing forward and your hip is being pulled backward. Very long body here. And then let's bring your hands down to the floor and step your front foot back, a long step into the plank pose. From plank, knees down, and then inhale, cow pose, knee, chest, and chin pose. And when you inhale, cobra pose. As you exhale, let's go to downward facing dog and move the whole down dog back so you are down dog at the wall again. Bring your right leg up to the wall. And let's bring your right leg up as high as you can. You can make the down dog smaller by walking your hands closer toward your foot. Now you can have your left heel on the wall, it's fine. And let's try stretching, splitting with your hips square first. So try to close your right thigh bone in, turn it in, and maybe you can feel all your toes on the right side. They are all touching the wall. That's a good indication that your hip is squared. Make the pose really strong. Every time you exhale, activate your core muscles. Squeezing your belly in. And if you want more, you can always walk your hand closer toward your foot and raise your right leg up even higher for a very big down dog split. For one more breath. Now let's release the leg from the wall, bend the knee, flip your hips, pointing the knee up to the sky. And then you can step your right foot outside of your right hand. You can move your hand forward a little bit for a lizard pose. At first, let's sink your hip down and bring it up for a few times. Try to bring your legs very far away from each other. And eventually you can place your back knee down to the floor into a lizard pose. From here, you can think of bringing your elbows down to the ground. So if you cannot bring your elbow to the floor, you can use a block and keep your arms on the blocks. Stay here for about 3 breaths. First, let's keep holding your knee very close to your shoulders. And keep sinking your hips down toward the ground. If needed, bring your back leg away from the front leg. Make more space for your hips to go. And then let's slowly get out of this. And before we do anything, let's go to a kind of pyramid pose first, straightening your front leg. And then let's bring your back knee down to the floor again, flex your toes, flex your ankle, and opening your right thigh bone out. Imagine you want to use your own leg strength to touch the knee to the floor. It's a deep hip opening here. And then as the twist, so now keep your left hand on the floor, about at the middle line of your mat, and then bring your right hand behind you. See if you can bend your back knee, and if possible, maybe you can hold your hand into your foot. Point your toes and kick your foot back to your hand as if your foot want to touch the floor. But your hand is pushing the foot too so that the heel go very close to your buttock, and keep turning your chest toward the side. It's very intense hip opening here. For one more breath only. Everything is pushing into each other, so everything is very active and nothing is loose. Then slowly release your foot, bring your hand back, raise your hips up, and step your back foot forward outside of your other hand. Point your toes to the front, inhale halfway up, and then exhale, you can hold your arms outside of your calf, forward bend in a wide leg position. And even here, let's think of how you want to bring your tailbone up to the sky. Every time you inhale, very long into the hamstring, to the back side of your leg. Imagine you want to stretch everything between your heel bones and your sitting bones. So you have to make these two bones go away from each other. And then let's hold your fingertips to the floor and make your feet closer into hip width position. Inhale halfway up, arcing through your spine. And you should feel the stretch here because what we are doing is the cow position. And then exhale, forward bend. Chair pose as you inhale. And exhale, stand up, bring your arms to the side of your body. Close your eyes in the mountain pose, stay here for a while. And then we're going to do the same flow on the other side. So stand at the front of your mat again. Inhale, bring your arms over your head. And exhale, another stretch. Push your hips forward and try to lift your chest up really high. So you feel the stretch in all the front of your body. Slowly come back and fold from your hip as you exhale. Inhale, halfway up, tilting your tailbone up, cow pose on your spine. And then exhale, forward bend. Chair pose, squat them down and bring your arms over your head as you inhale. And exhale, forward bend again, stepping your left foot back a long step, high lunge pose. Be very stable on your leg first and then go to high lunge. Bring your arms over your head. Make the high lunge bigger. So move your legs away from each other. But at the same time, imagine how you want to zip your legs together. Keep turning your front thigh bone out so that it will not collapse in. And become really strong, shortening your belly so all the stretch everywhere is strong. But all the stretch go to the front of your left hips. Stay for about 3 breaths. If your legs are shaking, it's absolutely normal. It's fine. You're going to get used to it and you will not shake anymore. And then let's hold your hands at your hips and step your back foot closer. Bring the whole back foot down to the floor and strengthening your front knee for pyramid pose. Inhale, arcing through your spine, tilting your tailbone up and start folding from your hips. Maybe your spine can be parallel to the floor. Or it's fine if you're just being diagonal forward. It really doesn't matter, but try to do this cow pose action that you're tilting the right sitting bone up and you make the hip square by curling your left hip in and forward. Lengthening through your body, and it's fine if you're bending your front knee. Just make it not too bendy so that you can still feel the very intense hamstring stretch here. Eventually, if you think you're quite low enough, you can bring your fingertips to the floor or hold the blocks with you. In both cases, you don't have to forward bend at all. Focusing on this arcing in your spine, happening very low down in your low back to tilt your tailbone up. It's actually called a pelvic tilt. But I find it's easier for us to imagine we're doing a cow pose action here. Stay for 3 more breaths. And for me, I can clearly feel that my right side is much tighter than my left. So you listen to your own body and see if you find you discover anything about your body. And after this, move the left block out of your way, put the right block inside your right foot and stand up as you open your body to the side for warrior 2. Make the warrior 2 very large. So your hip should be as high as your knee and not higher. Open your front thigh bone out. So it's really strong on the outside and a bit stretchy on the inner thigh. And then triangle pose, straightening your front leg. Bring your back foot a bit closer, pushing your hips back. And you can place your right hand on the block. You can lower the block, choose a side that is suitable for you. And bring your top arm over your head for extended side angle, triangle pose. And here, think of how your body always wants to become longer. Racing forward, and your hips always want to be back. Very long and big body here. For 1 more breath. Then let's bring your top hand down to the floor. Move blocks out of your way first and step your front foot back into plank pose. Inhale in plank and then exhale, knees down to the floor. Inhale, arcing through your spine. And then exhale, chest and chin down to the ground. Cobra pose as you inhale. And then exhale, downward facing dog. And move this down dog toward against the wall. Down dog split. Keep your right leg on the floor, bend your left knee, and you can touch your toes and slide it up as high as you can. Now, if possible, if you think you're quite stable and you can go even deeper into the pose, let's walk your hands closer toward your standing foot. And then we're going to try to make your hips square by turning your left thigh bone in. Look at your right thigh bone and knees. Make sure that they are not collapsed in, but they should be turning out so that we aim or the stretch to the hamstring of the right leg. Stay here for a few breaths. And if you think you can do even more, you can walk your hand even closer. If you feel very tight and you are bending your knees, it's absolutely fine. Bend both of your knees. The important thing is you feel some stretch into the big muscles. And eventually, let's bend the top knee and flip your hips. So now your left knee is raising up really high. It's a big hip opening here. And then you step your left foot outside of your left hand. Maybe you can step your foot longer so that we can go to a lizard pose. Bring your back knee down to the floor. And first, let's do the low lizard. So if you need more space for your feet, bring them apart from each other. Bring your right arm and then left arm to the floor. If you cannot reach the floor, you can do the high version, or you can use a block to support yourself. And in this pose, don't let your leg open out. It will be the next pose we do. So keep your thigh bone close to your shoulders. And to some extent, if you feel like you get used to the pose and you want more, sink your hips lower and move your back foot away from you. And after one more breath, before we do the other hip opening, we're going to straighten your front leg first into kind of a pyramid pose. It looks kind of like that. And then let's bring your back knee down to the floor again. Flex your front toes, flex your front ankle, and open the front thigh bone out. So when you look at your ankle, you will not see any wrinkle. We don't want to twist your ankle here. We want movement to be from your hips. You can use your own hand, put it at the root of your thigh, and push it out. Some people push at your knee, but I don't recommend it. And then let's do the next step. You can keep your right hand on the floor, maybe at the middle line of your mat, and then point your left hand back. Try bending your back knee, and maybe you can hold your hand into your foot. So make everything really strong here. The front leg is opening out strongly, using its own strength. The back leg is kicking into the hand, and the hand is pulling it closer into the hips. Everything is strong. So we can open up the front of your right leg. And one more breath. Then you can slowly get out of here. Bring your back leg off the floor, place the front foot back down to the ground, and step the back foot outside of your hand into a wide leg forward bend. So we was here before, now let's make it a bit wider by moving your feet maybe outside of your mat. Inhale halfway up and exhale forward bend. You can hold your arms again behind your calf. Let go of your head. Imagine your head want to touch the floor. It really doesn't matter how far you are from the floor right now. And every time you inhale, even if you feel very tight and your knees are still bent, try to point your hips up toward the sky. And then let's bring your hands down to the floor. Move your feet back into a hip width position. Inhale, arcing your spine. And exhale, forward bend. Chair pose, inhale. And then exhale, stand up and bring your arms to the side of your body. Close your eyes and stay here for a while in the mountain pose. And then you can slowly open your eyes, and I think we are very ready to stretch deeply now. I'm going to check the time. Okay, let's open up the knee supporter. Keep it here so we can have it here. Stand at the front of your mat, feet parallel to each other, and then inhale, big back bend. Exhale, forward bend. And then inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward bend again. Step your right foot back, a long step, and bring the right knee on the pillow. Untitled without a block this time. Keep your hips square and see if you can sink your hip even deeper, because now you're warmer. Bring your arms over your head as you inhale. You can touch your hands together, bend your elbows, and try to poke your fingers down toward your toes. It's really hard, of course, but imagine you want to poke something behind you. Lifting your chest up, stay here for 3 breaths. And then slowly bring your hands down toward the floor. Here you can use blocks again. Bring your hips back and keep your front heel on the floor. This time, let's lift your whole back knee off the floor into a pyramid pose with your front heel on the floor only. Inhale, arcing through your spine. Raise your hips up really high. And exhale, forward bend. I want you to try to bring your head as low as you can. So very big stretch into your front legs, hamstring. And look at your back legs, toes. Make sure that they are all pointed forward. And the whole knee and front of your thigh bones are pointing forward too. It's a very intense stretch here. For 1 more breath. And then let's slowly bring the back knee down to the floor. Bring the whole front foot down. Untitled pose again. And this time, let's hold the blocks in the high side. Try to keep your hips square so that when you bend the knee, the heel, the toes will be pointing straight to the sky and not pointing back like this. Keep your right hand or left hand on the block and try to see if the other hand can hold into the foot. So whichever hand that you can find, hold into your foot and try to pull it closer and closer toward your hips. It's really intense here. And maybe if you feel strong enough, you can release both hands and hold your foot into your hips. Popping your chest forward, really strong back and very stretchy front. 3 breaths here. And if you're shaking, I want you to know I'm shaking like crazy here too. It's releasing the tightness, and I can feel how my sweat is going out very much. And then slowly get out of this. Don't just drop your leg. Okay, that was very much. And bring your front foot back into plank pose. So from plank pose, stay for a while. Try to keep your legs very strong, locking your knees. We just fold your knee, flex your knee very much. Knees down. Inhale, arcing through your spine. And exhale, knee, chest, and chin. Inhale, cobra pose. And then exhale, our favorite pose of today, downward facing dog. Bring the down dog closer to the wall. And this time, bring your hands even closer. A hint here, if you feel like you can't, use the blocks with you. It's almost like a standing split. Your hip almost touch the wall. Bend your right knee and then put your right foot up to the wall. Slide up as high as you can. Maybe you are having your right knee on the wall, it's fine. If you think this is too intense, you can bring your leg and your hands away from the wall. Otherwise, stay here for about 3 to 5 breaths. No matter how intense you feel on your body, relax your head and let go of your head. Just make your shoulders and head completely relax. Even though your arms are working very hard and your legs are very strong and stretching intensely. And then let's slowly get out of here and bring your legs to the front of your mat. Step the foot outside of your right hand and bring your back knee down to the floor, sinking your hips low. Lizard pose. We're going to do that same pose we did again here. So you can keep your left hand on the floor or on the block, flexing your front foot and opening your front thigh bone out, bringing your right hand back, and maybe you can bend the back knee and hold into the ankle. So here again, it as you make your leg very far away from each other. So what is being pressed on the floor now is actually your thigh bone and not your kneecap. From here, turning your chest to the side. And there's a fight between your hand and your ankle. Your ankle wants to press into your hand, but your hand wants to press your ankle. So everything is really strong here. And then let's slowly get out of here. Bring your hands down to the floor. Raise your back knee up. And this time, let's bring the front foot to the middle line of your mat, holding the floor with only your fingertips, or you can hold the low side of your blocks. Kick your back leg off the floor as you stick your belly down to your thighs into a standing split and try to raise your back leg very high. You should feel it really strong in your legs too, so that you can lift this leg up this high. Well, I'm not too high, but you should feel the strength on your legs. And bring your head down very low. Look at some point on the mat in front of your toes to keep balance. Maybe you can release one hand and hold it in the back side of your front leg. Or maybe you can do that with both hands. For one more breath, and then let's step your foot down parallel to the other foot. Inhale halfway up and exhale forward bend. Chair pose. Inhale. Exhale, stand up and bring your arms to the side of your body. Close your eyes and stay here in this mountain pose for the next few breaths. And then we move on to the other side. So stand at the front of your mat again. Hip width feet. Inhale, big back bend. Lifting your chest up and pushing your hips a bit forward. As you exhale, folding from your hips, forward bend. And then inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward bend again. Step your left foot back a long step and bring your back knee down to the floor. Untitled at first without the blocks. Bring your arms to over your head. Make your legs very far away from each other and see your limit. See how low you can bring your hips. Back leg really strong, pressing down to the floor, and then you can touch your hands and bend your elbows as if you want to poke your fingers to the wall behind you. Lifting chest up and try to bring your elbows behind your ear. Stay here for about 3 breaths. Even when you're in this big back bend, think of how you want to curl your tailbone down as you hold your belly in really tight. And then slowly bring your hands down toward the floor. Let's bring your hips back and then keep your front heel on the ground, pointing your toes up. You can use the blocks here for this pyramid pose and then lift your back leg off the floor. Inhale, arcing through your spine, and exhale, bending your elbows, sticking your belly down to your thigh. Look at your back foot, back leg. Make sure that it is not turning out. It's still facing the front of the room. And of course, your front knee can still be bent, but find some stretch by strengthening the knee within your body's limit. Anytime you exhale is a chance to go deeper in any stretch. So bring your head quite low. And try to keep your toes pointing up to the sky instead of pointing in and collapsing in. Then let's bring your back knee down to the floor. Go back to Untitled, this time with the blocks. So the deeper you can become, the more that it will be that it's your thigh bone that is being pressed on the floor and not your kneecap. So it becomes less uncomfortable. Let's bend your back knee and make sure that the toes are pointing straight up to the sky. And to do that, you need to keep your hips square and not pointing to the side like this. And then see if you can hold your hand on one block and the other hand can get out of the block and hold into your ankle. Any hand would be fine. Or you can try alternatively each hand. But if you think that you are quite stable and you can hold both hands, let's do that. Bring your chest up really high and hug your belly in all the time. So very strong on the back. Should feel all the back muscles squeezing, all the hamstring, glute squeezing, and on the opposite side, everything is stretching. And if you are shaking here, me too. So we're shaking together here, but we will get over it. For one more breath only. And after this breath, just don't drop your foot. Release it gently. Whew. And then go to a plank pose. Find some strength as a counter pose to all the stretch. Stay in plank for 2 or 3 breaths. Let's bring your knees down. Inhale, cow pose. And then knee, chest, and chin. Cobra pose as you inhale. And then exhale, down dog. And then our favorite pose, down dog split. Walking your hands back, and here you can use the blocks. Become as close to the wall as you can. I'll be pretty close because I like this pose. And then let's stand only on your right leg. Bring your left leg on the floor. Sorry, on the wall. Ooh. Stay here for a few breaths. And if you feel too intense, you can find a position away from the wall, so it's easier for you. Or you can bend both knees. But any pose you're in, make sure that your head and your neck are relaxed, so you can breathe into this pose. For one more breath. Then you can slowly get out of this and step your left foot forward to the left edge of your mat. Bring your right knee down to the floor, and we are here in the lizard pose again. Now let's keep the right hand on the floor. Flex the left foot and left ankle, open it out. Bring the left hand back, and maybe we're going to do that big lizard pose again. Maybe this time you'll be more stable than the previous time. If both time you are doing it very hard, very difficultly, it doesn't matter at all. Just see the progress, even if it's very tiny. And keep twisting your chest toward the side. And then let's slowly get out of here and bring your hands down to the floor. Raise your back knee off the floor and step your front foot into between your hands. Standing split, you can hold the fingertips on the ground as you kick your back leg off the floor. Try to use your own leg strength. There's no wall, but imagine you are sliding your leg up on a wall. Look at some point on your mat and between your toes and see if you have any improvement in your standing split today compared to other times you did standing split before. If you want to test your challenge, one arm wrapping around your calf, maybe the other arm too. So it's a very nice combination of strength and challenge. Balance and stretch. Oops. Eventually, step this foot down, parallel to the other foot. Inhale, halfway up. And now I want you to turn your head toward the wall and come closer to the wall. My favorite wall, Uttanasana, Bend your knees and let go of your upper body like a forward bend. And then place the back side of your head into the wall. Walk closer to the wall, and I want you to slide your head down very low so that your spine will be touching the wall too. And then you can stay here and imagine that we go into the I cannot think when I'm upside down, sorry. Okay, now let's take one day you're going to stick your whole spine, including your tailbone, your lumbar spine, into this wall. So we're going to move that way. Anytime you think you can, slide your head lower and push your whole hips toward the wall so that maybe that day will come, maybe it will not, but we will stretch a lot on our way there. My legs are shaking like crazy now, but it's stretching out the places that I can't stretch in my favorite stretching pose like forward bend, half split, or pyramid. And don't forget to breathe. Now that you have folded so much, every time you inhale, your body will expand to the back side. And to get out of this, just slowly come back, walking away from the wall and squat down. Oh, stay here for a while so that your head come back to normal blood circulation. And then you can sit down to the floor, feeling nice. One last pose. Now that we are so stretchy, let's do one last pose. Pashimottanasana, sitting forward bend. You can sit on the block or the pillow like I'm sitting now and move the sitting bones back. Bend your knees first to avoid being rounded in your back, and then you can use one blocks, or if you like hardcore things, two blocks in front of you. Kick the feet into the blocks and pull with the hands. So it's two opposite action. One the feet are pushing and the hands are pulling. Try to bend your elbows, so you have to pull your hands a lot so that you can bend your elbows. And then you can let your head go very low down toward your shin bone or your knees. And it really doesn't matter if you're bending your knees. But just make these forks happening. Feet kicking into the blocks, arms pulling the blocks. It's such huge stretch in places that I cannot stretch in an active standing pose. And if anytime you think the body can progress, straighten your legs, bring your heels forward or walk your buttock back. But don't hang onto the blocks here. You really want to push and pull the blocks. Okay, that was good. So slowly get out of here. Give yourself some nice stretch. Inhale and then some nice twist, turning your body to one side, whichever side, walking your hands back. Take 2 or 3 breaths and then to the other side. Inhale and then exhale. And now you can lay down to the floor and enjoy the Savasana. I'm very sure that you're going to feel very nice blood circulation all over your body, your back, your spine, your hips, all along your legs. So if you have very curvy low back and you think there's a lot of back bend today that make your curvy low back uncomfortable, bring a pillow underneath your knees so that your low back can rest on the floor. Or you can bend your knees and touch your knees together like the hip closing position we did at the beginning of the class. Generally, find a position that make your body relax. and start bringing your awareness to the places that you found very intense, very tight, or very painful. I wouldn't say painful, but like stretchy painful. And feel very good blood circulation, new stream of blood, new energy flowing into these areas. As you unlock them, open them up, and make way for the new nutrient stream, blood flow into these areas. And you can continue being here. I'm going to get out of the pose and finish the class. But of course, it's your house, so you can be however long you want. I really hope that we can see each other in real life soon in our location, and I hope that they will open up the location again. But for next week, I have some plan of a yoga class in real life. I found another location that is quite expensive, but I think we can do it for 1 or 2 times. So stay tuned. I'm going to post the information, and you can book the class. And yeah, I really hope to see you guys again. Thank you very much for doing this class. And if you want to, you can donate me by sending me money on my Swiss number. The details are in the description of this video. And or you can donate me 1 class in your class pass. Just comment or send me a message, and I will do that. Thank you very much, and I hope that you open up your hips today. Very nice hamstring, quads, and everything stretch. Thank you, and I will see you next week. Oh, and one more thing is that I have 3 yoga flows with music on my YouTube channel or on my website. So if you go to my website or my YouTube channel, you will see them. Yeah, that is my gift for New Year for all you guys. So sign up and do them. They are the kind of hip opening and arm balance that we have been working in our yoga classes. I put them together and I add some very nice music. Like I paid some money, a lot of money for copyright music. So yeah, so I'm very proud of them. So check them out and do them, maybe not right now, but tomorrow or next week. Okay, thank you very much, and I will see you soon.